The stars were beautiful tonight. Park looked through the window of his small research ship and smiled. He was alone in the darkness of space, but he did not feel lonely. He felt free. Was 28 years old. He had short black hair and tired eyes that had seen too many late nights. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was just a pilot who worked for the Earth Research Division. His job was simple. He flew to distant planets, collected mineral samples, and brought them back home. His ship was called It was old and slow, but loved it. The ship made strange sounds when it flew, like an old man breathing, but it never failed him, not once in 3 years. Tonight he was near the outer rim of known space. This was a quiet area. No one came here. No one cared about this empty corner of the galaxy. That was why liked it. He could think here. He could remember Earth. He could miss his mother and her cooking. He checked his instruments. Everything was normal. The nearest planet was 2 hours away. He would collect his samples, file his report, and go home. Simple. But then his screen flickered. Frowned, he tapped the screen with his finger. The flicker stopped. Then it started again. This time, a red warning light appeared. Unknown vessel detected, the computer said in its calm, female voice. Sat up straight, unknown vessel. Here, that made no sense. This area was empty. No one ever came here. He looked at his scanner. There was a ship behind him. A big ship, very big. It was coming fast. His heart began to beat faster. He was not a fighter. His ship had no weapons. He had a small pistol under his seat, but that was all. What could he do against a warship? He tried to send a message to Earth. The signal was blocked. Something was jamming his communications. The big ship came closer. Now could see it through his window. It was dark purple with sharp edges. It looked like a knife cutting through space. On its side he saw a symbol he did not recognize. 3 red circles around a black star. A human vessel, a deep voice said through his speakers. You are in space. Prepare to be boarded. Had heard of everyone had. They were one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. They had conquered over 400 star systems. They were tall, strong, and they did not like other species, especially young species like humans. This is not space, said, trying to keep his voice calm. Check your maps. This is neutral territory. The voice laughed. It was not a friendly laugh. Everything is space, the voice said. We simply allow others to exist in it, for now. I tried to run. He pushed his engines to maximum power. The groaned and shook, but it moved. It moved as fast as it could. It was not fast enough. A beam of blue light hit his ship. Everything went dark. The engines died. The lights died. Even the computer went silent, floated in darkness, listening to his own breathing. Then he heard them cutting through his hull. They came for him with weapons he had never seen before. They were tall, taller than any human. Their skin was gray and their eyes were yellow. They wore black armor that reflected no light. Fought, he pulled out his pistol and fired. The shot hit one of them in the chest. The soldier looked down at the burn mark on his armor. Then he he did not seem angry. He seemed amused. The soldier hit with the back of his weapon, fell, blood ran down his face. He tried to get up, but another blow came, and another. When he finally stopped fighting, they dragged him onto their ship. The news reached Earth 4 hours later. The message appeared on every screen, every device, every channel. It was impossible to ignore. Someone made sure of that, the wanted everyone to see. The video showed a small, dark room. In the center of the room was a man. He was on his knees. His hands were tied behind his back. His face was covered in blood and bruises. His uniform was torn, but the Earth insignia on his shoulder was still visible. It was Park. A soldier stood behind him. He was bigger than the others. He wore a golden symbol on his chest. He was a commander. "People of Earth," the commander said, his voice was cold and hard, "your kind has entered space without permission. This is a crime. This man is a criminal." He grabbed his hair and pulled his head back. His eyes were swollen, but he was still conscious. He did not cry. He did not beg. "This is what becomes of trespassers," the commander continued. "Your kind will learn its place. You are insects. You are nothing. Remember this face. Remember what happens to those who forget their weakness." The video ended. On Earth, billions of people watched in silence. Some cried, some screamed, some threw things at their screens. But in one room, deep beneath the city of Seoul, a woman watched with different eyes. She was 62 years old. Her hair was gray and her face was lined with age, but her eyes were sharp, sharper than any blade. She was the admiral of the United Earth Defense Fleet. She had fought in 3 wars. She had buried friends and enemies. She had seen things that would break most people, but she was not broken. She was strong. When the video ended, she did not cry. She did not scream. She smiled. It was a small smile, cold, dangerous, the kind of smile that made her officers nervous. "Sir," one of her aides asked. His name was Lei. He was young and smart, but he had never seen this look on the admiral's face before. "They have no idea," said softly. "They have no idea what they have just done." She stood up from her chair. Everyone in the room stood with her. "Contact all fleet commanders," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. "Wake up the Black Fleet. Activate emergency retaliation protocol." Lei's face went pale. "Sir, the Black Fleet, that protocol has never been used. The Assembly will." "The Assembly can watch," said. "Let them all watch. Let the whole galaxy watch what happens when someone takes one of ours." She walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, a young pilot was bleeding in a dark cell. He was probably scared. He was probably in pain, but he was not alone. He would never be alone. "We are coming for you, Lieutenant," whispered to the stars. "Hold on, we are coming." The machines of war began to wake. In secret shipyards hidden throughout the solar system, lights flickered on. Engines that had slept for decades began to hum. Weapons that the galaxy did not know existed began to power up. They had wanted to send a message. They had no idea that Earth was about to send one back. The Galactic Assembly met on a space station called the Ring. It was the largest structure in the known universe. Over 2,000 species sent representatives here. They talked, they argued, they made laws. Sometimes they even kept those laws. Today, the Great Hall was full. Word had spread fast about what they had done to the human pilot. Some species were angry, most were curious, a few were laughing. The humans were such a young species. They had only joined the assembly 50 years ago. They were classified as Class D. This meant they were primitive, weak, unimportant. They were allowed to exist, but no one took them seriously. The ambassador stood on the main platform. His name was Commander. He was old with deep scars on his gray face. He had fought in many wars. He had never lost. He wore his scars like medals. "This matter is simple," said to the assembly. "A human ship entered our space without permission. We captured the criminal. We will execute him when we are ready. This is law. This is justice." Some species nodded in agreement. They were powerful. It was wise to agree with the powerful. Then the doors opened. Hen walked into the hall. She was Earth's chief diplomat to the assembly. She was 45 years old with long black hair tied back in a simple braid. She wore a dark blue suit with the Earth insignia on her chest. Her face showed no emotion. Behind her walked two guards in black armor. They were taller than most humans. Their faces were hidden behind dark helmets. They did not speak. They did not need to. The hall became quiet. Everyone watched the human woman walk to the platform. Smiled. It was the smile of a predator looking at prey. "Ah, the human diplomat," he said. "Have you come to apologize? Have you brought tribute? Perhaps you will beg for your little pilot's life." Stopped walking. She stood 10 meters from. She did not look afraid. She did not look angry. She looked like a woman about to read a grocery list. "The Dominion has 72 standard hours to return Lieutenant Park to Earth custody," she said. Her voice was clear and calm. "He must be alive. He must be unharmed. This is not a request." Laughter exploded across the hall. Hundreds of aliens laughed at the small human woman and her impossible demand. They had never returned a prisoner in their entire history. They did not negotiate. They did not surrender. They conquered. Laughed loudest of all. "And if we refuse," he asked, still laughing, "will you send your little ships against our fleets? Will you throw rocks at our warships? Oh, this is wonderful. The insects think they can threaten us." Did not smile. She did not react to the laughter. She simply waited for it to stop. When the hall was quiet again, she spoke. "If Lieutenant Park is not returned in 72 hours, Earth will respond. I am authorized to tell you that our response will be complete." Complete stepped closer to her. He was much taller. He looked down at her like she was a child. "What does that mean, little human? What could your primitive species possibly do?" Met his eyes without fear. "You will find out in 73 hours, she said, "unless you are wise." The hall erupted again. Insults flew. Threats were made. A few species demanded that Earth be punished for such arrogance. The ambassador called for the human diplomat to be arrested. Turned and walked out. Her guards followed. She did not look back. The 72 hours began. The emperor received the news. He was old, very old. He had ruled for 200 years. He had crushed rebellions. He had destroyed entire species. The thought of humans threatening him was the funniest thing he had heard in decades. "Broadcast the prisoner again," he ordered. "Show them what their words mean to us." The new broadcast was worse than the first. Was in the same room, but now he was hanging from chains. His shirt was gone. His chest was covered in burns and cuts. Blood dripped from his mouth. A torturer stood next to him with a burning tool. "Your leaders asked for your return," the torturer said. "We thought we would send a reply." He pressed the burning tool against his chest, screamed. The sound echoed across every human colony, every Earth station, every home where humans watched. When the burning stopped, the torturer held up the tool. It had been shaped like the Earth insignia. Now that symbol was burned into skin. "This is our answer," the torturer said. "Come and get him, we dare you." The broadcast ended. On Earth, Admiral watched the video in her command center. Around her, officers worked in silence. Some had tears in their eyes. Some had fists clenched so tight their knuckles were white. 41 hours remaining," said Lee quietly. "The Black Fleet is fully operational. All commanders await your orders." Nodded slowly. She was looking at a frozen image of his face. He was in terrible pain, but his eyes were still fighting. "He is strong," she said softly. "Hold on, Lieutenant. Just hold on a little longer." She turned to face her officers. "They will not give him back," she said. "We all know this. They will torture him until he dies, and then they will laugh at us. They think we are weak. They think we are afraid." She walked to the center of the room, where a huge holographic map showed the entire galaxy. "Captain Minu," she called. A man stepped forward. He was 38 years old with broad shoulders and cold eyes. He wore a black uniform with no symbols. He was the commander of the Black Fleet, a fleet that officially did not exist. "Admiral," he said, "when the timer reaches 0, you will take the Black Fleet to space. Your mission is simple: break them. Destroy everything that stands between us and Lieutenant Park. Show no mercy, accept no surrender." Menu nodded, "And the military, they have 10,000 warships." Smiled that cold, dangerous smile again. "Then you will need 10,000 coffins. Can you do this?" Menu did not smile. He did not need to. "Yes, Admiral, I can." In her quarters on the ring, Han received a private message from Earth. It contained only 3 words. "Prepare the demonstration." She read the message twice, then she deleted it. She walked to her window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there they were laughing. They were hurting a young man who had done nothing wrong. They thought they were safe. They thought Earth was weak. In 41 hours, they would learn the truth. I closed her eyes and thought about Park. She had never met him. She probably never would, but he was one of her people. He was family, and family meant everything. "Hold on," she whispered. "We are coming, all of us, the whole planet, every human who ever lived and died. We are all coming for you." The timer continued to count down. Somewhere in the darkness of space, the Black Fleet moved into position. Their engines were silent, their weapons were ready. They waited like wolves in the shadows. The had wanted to make humanity afraid. They had made a terrible mistake. The timer reached 0 at exactly midnight, Earth time. Admiral stood in her command center, surrounded by screens and officers. Every screen showed the same countdown. When the numbers hit 0, they turned red. "The deadline has passed," said Lee quietly. No response from them. Nodded. She had not expected one. "Captain Menu," she said into her communicator, "you are free to begin." Somewhere in the darkness between stars, Menu smiled. "Copy that, Admiral, beginning now." The Black Fleet emerged from the shadows. There were 37 ships in total. This was not a large number. They had thousands of warships. Any normal fleet of 37 ships would be destroyed in minutes. But the Black Fleet was not normal. The ships were black as night. They had no windows, no visible engines. They moved through space like ghosts, silent and deadly. Each ship was built in secret shipyards that the galaxy did not know existed. Each ship carried weapons that no species had ever seen. The first target was a military base on a moon called. It was heavily defended. 300 warships protected it. 10,000 soldiers lived there. They considered it unconquerable. The Black Fleet arrived in seconds. They used technology that bent space itself. One moment they were a light year away. The next moment they were there. The defenders did not even have time to be surprised. The Black Fleet fired. Their weapons were not lasers or missiles. They were something worse, something that tore holes in the fabric of reality itself. Where the weapons hit, matter simply stopped existing. Ships vanished. The base vanished. The moon cracked in half. In less than 3 minutes was gone. 300 warships, 10,000 soldiers, gone. The Black Fleet moved to the next target. The Emperor received the news. For the first time in 200 years, he felt something he did not recognize. Fear. How is this possible? He demanded. What weapons are these? Where did the humans get this technology? No one could answer him. Send the Grand Armada, he ordered. All 10,000 ships, crush these insects. The Grand Armada was the pride of the Dominion. It had never lost a battle. It had conquered hundreds of worlds. Its commanders were the best in the galaxy. Its ships were the most advanced money could buy. It gathered in deep space, a massive wall of metal and fire. 10,000 warships, millions of soldiers, enough firepower to destroy a star. They found the Black Fleet near a gas giant called Seven. But the Black Fleet was no longer there. Only one ship remained, a single human vessel floating alone in the darkness. The Grand Admiral laughed when he saw it. One ship, he said. They send one ship against 10,000. The humans have lost their minds. He ordered all 10,000 ships to target the single human vessel. Destroy it, he said. Make an example. 10,000 weapons charged. 10,000 targeting systems locked on. 10,000 fingers prepared to fire. But the human ship fired first. The weapon it used had no name. It was simply called the Light. It had been developed in secret on Earth for over a century. It was based on technology that humans did not fully understand. Technology they had found buried deep beneath the ocean, left behind by visitors who had come to Earth millions of years ago. The Light was not a bomb, it was not a missile. It was a controlled explosion that created a temporary star. When the Light hit the center of the Armada, the darkness became day. For one terrible second, a new sun burned in space. It was small compared to a real star, but it was big enough. When the Light faded, the Grand Armada no longer existed. Not damaged, not scattered, gone, completely and absolutely gone. 10,000 ships reduced to atoms in a single heartbeat. The Grand Admiral had time to scream once before he died. The galaxy watched in horror. While the Black Fleet was burning military power, another mission was happening. A smaller mission, a more personal mission. The sergeant was 31 years old. She was not tall, but she was fast. She was strong. She had trained her whole life for moments like this. Her team was small, only 12 soldiers. They wore black armor that seemed to absorb light. They carried weapons that looked like something from a nightmare. They moved in complete silence. Their mission was simple: find Park, bring him home. They landed on the while the military was distracted by the Black Fleet. They came down in a small ship that the sensors could not see. They moved through the darkness like shadows. The prison where was held was heavily guarded, but the guards were not prepared for what came for them. This team did not use guns. They used weapons that killed without sound, neural disruptors that turned off the brain, molecular blades that cut through any armor. They moved through the prison like ghosts. Found in a cell deep underground, he was hanging from chains, barely conscious. His body was covered in wounds. The Earth insignia was still burned into his chest. She cut his chains with her molecular blade. He fell into her arms. Who are you?" he whispered. His voice was broken. "Sergeant, Earth Rescue Division. We are here to take you home." I tried to laugh. It hurt too much. "It took you long enough," he said. Almost smiled. "We were busy," she said. "Can you walk?" "I can try." She helped him to his feet. He was weak, but he was alive. That was all that mattered. They moved through the prison toward the extraction point. Alarms began to sound. They finally realized what was happening. Guards came running. They did not run for long. This team cut through them without slowing down. Their weapons flashed in the darkness. Soldiers fell. None of them got close enough to touch a human. They reached the extraction ship. They climbed aboard. The ship rose into the sky and vanished into space. On the Emperor watched his forces die. He watched his prison burn. He watched a single human pilot escape from his grasp. He finally understood. The humans had not come to negotiate. They had not come to threaten. They had come to destroy. And they were very, very good at it. The news spread across the galaxy. The Week of Fire, they called it. In 7 days, the human Black Fleet had destroyed 17 major military installations. They had wiped out the Grand Armada. They had rescued their pilot from the heart of enemy territory. And they were not done. Admiral watched ship approaching Earth. She felt something warm in her chest. Relief, pride, joy. "Welcome home, Lieutenant," she whispered. But the war was not over, not yet. The still existed. They needed to learn a final lesson. Picked up her communicator. "Prepare the Nova bomb," she said. "It is time for the demonstration." Park woke up in a white room. The ceiling was smooth and clean. The air smelled fresh. For a moment he thought he was dead. Then he felt the pain. His whole body hurt, every muscle, every bone, every inch of skin. But the pain was different now. It was the pain of healing, not the pain of breaking. He turned his head slowly. A woman was sitting beside his bed. She had long black hair and calm eyes. She was reading something on a small screen. "Where am I?" asked. His voice was rough. The woman looked up and smiled. Seoul Military Hospital, she said. You are home, Lieutenant, you are safe. Home, the word sounded strange, had thought he would never hear it again. Who are you? My name is Han, I am a diplomat. I was there when they refused to release you. Remember the broadcasts, the torture, the pain. I remember your voice, he said. You gave them the warning. Nodded, they did not listen, so we made them listen. It was quiet for a moment. How many died, he finally asked. How many people died because of me? Put down her screen, she looked at him with serious eyes. No one died because of you, Lieutenant. People died because of what they did. You are not responsible for their choices. You are only responsible for surviving. Looked at the ceiling, he thought about the soldiers who had rescued him. He thought about the battles he had heard about, the week of fire, thousands of dead, perhaps millions. Was it worth it, he whispered, all that destruction for one person? Stood up, she walked to the window and looked out at the city below. Let me tell you something, Lieutenant. Before the assembly, before the galactic community, Earth was alone. We fought wars against each other. We killed each other over land and resources and pride. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times. She turned to look at him. But we learned something. We learned that every life matters, every single life. The moment we start saying that one person is not worth saving, we lose something important. We lose our humanity. So she walked back to his bed. You are worth it, Park. You are worth every ship we lost, every soldier we sacrificed, every bomb we dropped, because if we ever stop believing that, we stop being human. Felt tears in his eyes. He did not try to hide them. Thank you, he said. Thank you for coming for me. He smiled softly. We always will. That is the promise. That is who we are. The Emperor made his decision. He had no choice. The Grand Armada was gone. 17 military bases were destroyed. The human Black Fleet still circled space like sharks around a bleeding animal. He sent a message to Earth. We surrender, he said. We will release all prisoners. We will pay any price. Just stop, please stop. The response came from Admiral herself. The surrender is accepted, but we are not finished. There must be consequences. The Emperor went pale. What consequences? We will give you anything. You will give us justice, said. The officers responsible for Lieutenant Park's capture and torture will be executed. You will do this publicly. You will apologize to Earth publicly. And there is one more thing. The Emperor waited. We will demonstrate something for the galaxy, said. A warning, a message, something that will ensure no species ever touches our people again. The Emperor did not understand, but he agreed. He had no choice. 3 days later, representatives from every member species of the Galactic Assembly gathered at the edge of space. They came in observation ships. They came to watch. They did not know what they would see. At the center of this area of space was a gas giant called Prime. It was huge, bigger than Jupiter. It was uninhabited, but it was sacred to Their ancient stories said their gods were born there. They called it the birthplace of light. Earth chose this target carefully. Dr. Shin Ara was the lead scientist on the project. She was 60 years old with white hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her whole career developing weapons that no one should ever use. Today, she would use one of them. The Nova bomb is ready, she reported to Admiral. It will create an artificial stellar ignition, a controlled star birth. The target will be completely consumed. Nodded, proceed. The weapon was fired from the Black Fleet flagship. It moved slowly toward Prime. Every observation ship recorded the moment. When the bomb reached the center of the gas giant, it activated. The explosion was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not fire, it was light, pure, blinding, terrible light. The gas giant began to collapse, then expand, then burn. Hydrogen atoms fused together. A new star was born. Where Prime had been, a sun now burned. A sun created by human hands. A sun that would burn for 1,000,000 years. The representatives watched in silence. Some of them cried, some of them screamed, some of them simply could not move. This was the power that the young species called humanity possessed. This was what they were capable of. This was the price of taking one of their people. A hand spoke to the assembly. "We are a young species," she said. Her voice was broadcast to every ship, every station, every planet that was watching. "We prefer peace. We value diplomacy. We want to be friends with all species." She paused. Her eyes were cold. "But understand this, every human life is precious to us, more precious than your fleets, more precious than your empires, more precious than your sacred planets." She pointed at the new star burning in the distance. "That was a warning, a demonstration. If any species ever takes one of our people again, we will not stop at a demonstration. We will come for you. We will destroy everything you have. We will burn your worlds until nothing is left but ash and memory." She lowered her hand. "We are humanity. We protect our own. Remember this." The transmission ended. In the observation ships, representatives from hundreds of species sat in stunned silence. They had laughed at humans. They had called them insects. They had thought they were weak. They would never make that mistake again. The Emperor delivered his apology as ordered. He executed the officers responsible for torture. He paid massive reparations to Earth. He signed treaties promising eternal peace. But the true change was something that could not be written in treaties. The true change was in the whispered conversations across the galaxy, the warnings that parents gave their children, the stories that traders told in dark bars on distant planets. Never harm a human. Never take what is theirs. Never forget what they are capable of. On Earth, Admiral watched the new star burn. It would be visible in the night sky for generations, a constant reminder, a permanent warning. "Do you think they understand now?" Lee asked her. Nodded slowly. "They understand, but understanding is not enough. We need to make sure they never forget." She had an idea, a new project, a new force. "Bring me Lieutenant Park," she said. "When he is healed, I have a proposal for him." 6 months passed since the week of fire. Park stood on a beach inn watching the sun set over the ocean. His body had healed, The wounds had closed, the burns had faded, but the scar on his chest remained. The Earth insignia burned into his skin by his enemies. He touched it sometimes, it still hurt, it would always hurt, but he did not want it removed. It was a reminder of what he had survived, of what his people had done for him. "Beautiful evening," said a voice behind him. He turned. Admiral walked across the sand toward him. She wore civilian clothes for once, a simple blue dress, no medals, no insignia. She looked almost like a normal person. "Almost," Admiral said, standing. "I did not expect to see you here." "Please call me. We are not in the command center." She stood beside him and looked at the ocean. "How are you feeling?" It was quiet for a moment. "I do not know how to answer that question," he said honestly. "Sometimes I feel grateful to be alive. Sometimes I feel guilty that so many died for me. Sometimes I just feel empty." Nodded, she understood. "After my first war, I felt the same way. It took years for the emptiness to go away. Sometimes it still comes back, but it gets easier. I promise you that." They watched the waves together for a while. "You could retire, you know," said finally. "Full pension, full honors. You could buy a house near this beach. Find a nice person, start a family. You have earned that peace." I shook his head slowly. "I thought about it," he admitted, "for a long time, but I cannot." "Why not?" He turned to face her. "Because there are other humans out there, scattered across the stars. Scientists, traders, explorers, people like me, people who are alone in the darkness, far from home." He looked up at the stars that were beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "What happened to me could happen to any of them, and if it does, someone needs to come for them. Someone needs to make sure they know they are not forgotten." Smiled, it was a warm smile this time, proud. "I was hoping you would say that," she said. "That is why I am here. I have a proposal for you." She handed him a small data chip. "We are creating a new force," she explained. "We call it the Aegis Corps. Its mission is simple: protect human lives throughout the galaxy, respond to threats, rescue those who are taken, show the universe that we mean what we say." Looked at the chip in his hand. "And you want me to be part of this?" "I want you to lead it," said. "You survived something terrible, Lieutenant. You know what it feels like to be alone in the dark, waiting for rescue. That knowledge is valuable. It will make you a better leader." Was silent. The weight of the decision pressed on him. "I am not sure I am ready," he said. "I am still broken in many ways." "We are all broken," replied. "The question is what we do with our broken pieces. Do we hide them, or do we use them to build something stronger?" Thought about her words. He thought about the soldiers who had rescued him, Sargent and her team. He thought about their courage, their skill, their determination. "If I accept," he said slowly, "can I choose my own team?" Smiled. Of course. Made his choice. 1 year later, the Aegis Corps officially launched. Their headquarters was a massive space station orbiting Mars. It was equipped with the most advanced technology Earth possessed: ships that could cross the galaxy in hours, weapons that could destroy armies, armor that could stop any attack. Commander Park stood on the main deck looking at his team. 50 soldiers, the best humanity had to offer. They wore black uniforms with a silver shield on their chest, the symbol of the Aegis. Beside him stood Sergeant. She had accepted his invitation without hesitation. She was his second in command, his most trusted ally. The galaxy is watching us, told his team. They are waiting to see what we will do. They are hoping we will fail. They think the week of fire was a moment of madness, that we cannot maintain that level of response forever. He walked among them, looking at each face. They are wrong. We are not a moment. We are a promise to every human in the galaxy. No matter where you are, no matter how far you travel, no matter how alone you feel, we will come for you, we will find you, we will bring you home. He stopped at the front of the room. That is our mission, that is our purpose, that is why the Aegis Corps exists. Never forget it. The soldiers stood at attention. Their faces were hard, determined, ready. Now said, let us get to work. The Galactic Assembly officially reclassified humanity 3 months later. They created a new designation, Class Omega. It meant dangerous, it meant unpredictable, it meant do not engage. The treaties were rewritten, laws were changed, neutral zones around human colonies were expanded. Species that had once laughed at Earth now sent ambassadors with gifts and promises of eternal friendship. Some species were angry about this. They did not like being afraid of a young species. They did not like the new balance of power. They whispered in dark corners about revenge, about waiting, about finding human weaknesses. They never tried anything. Because every time someone thought about harming a human, they remembered the week of fire. They remembered the new star that still burned in space. They remembered the words of Han, we will destroy everything you have. And they decided that revenge was not worth the cost. Years passed, the galaxy changed, new alliances formed, old enemies became friends. The memory of the week of fire became legend, then myth, then something almost like a fairy tale that parents told their children. But the warning remained. In alien bars across the galaxy, travelers shared stories. They talked about the humans, the strange, small species that had conquered no empires and claimed no great territories. The species that seemed so peaceful and friendly. Until you touched one of their own. I heard a story once, an old trader would say, leaning forward with a drink in his hand, about a young human pilot who was captured by the just one man, a nobody, a scientist, the thought no one would care. The listeners would lean closer. But the humans came for him, the trader would continue. They burned 17 military bases. They destroyed the Grand Armada. They turned a sacred planet into a sun, all for one man, one nobody. He would pause dramatically. So remember this, if you ever meet a human, be kind, be respectful, never threaten them, never hurt them. Because if you take even one of their people, they will come for you, all of them, the whole planet, the whole species, and they will not stop until they bring their person home and your world is ash. The listeners would nod nervously and order another drink. On a space station orbiting Mars, Commander Park received a report. A human researcher had gone missing near the outer rim. The local species claimed to know nothing. Looked at Sergeant. Prepare the team, he said. We have work to do. As the Aegis Corps prepared for launch, looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a human was alone in the dark, scared, waiting. Not for long. He activated his communicator and sent a message to the missing researcher's last known location. A simple message, a promise. Hold on, we are coming. And across the galaxy, in the dark corners of space where humans had not yet traveled, other species heard stories. They learned the lesson that they had learned at such terrible cost. Never underestimate humans. Never take what is theirs. Because when it comes to their own people, there is nothing humans will not do. Absolutely nothing. And that was the legacy of the Week of Fire. That was the truth that the galaxy had finally learned. A humanity protects its own. Always. Forever. No matter the cost.